Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Unofficial Experts. I am your host, Preston Moore, and today I am joined by my very good friend, Taylor Hendrick. Taylor, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
All right. So if you are listening right now and you're like, why am I here? How did I get here? That is because you're on a podcast and it's called Unofficial Experts. And I am the host, Preston Moore. Unofficial Experts is a podcast where I want to provide a platform for young people to display their passions and their projects. So each week we're going to have somebody new come on to talk about something that they are interested in, something they're passionate about, or something that they're working on. It's going to be super duper fun. And this is the very first episode. Taylor, how do you feel to be number one?
I mean, I guess I'm the guinea pig here, but definitely very excited, very blessed to be number one. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm ready to talk about that a lot of people don't really know I do.
Yeah, you're definitely the guinea pig here, but it's okay because we'll make it work. It'll be fun.
Yes,
you're number one for a reason. So, Taylor, I will let you explain it a little bit, but the reason that Taylor's on the show today is he is an aviation student. So he is learning to be a pilot. Taylor, what is it like to be an aviation student? Like because I feel like that's such a unique thing to be doing in college, you know, like there are so many people who study so many different things, but like not many people can be like, oh, I'm going to school to fly planes for a living.
I mean, it definitely has its own set of challenges, definitely. And I never think that my challenges are above anyone else's. I mean, everyone has their own challenges involving whatever they're studying in college. I'm blessed that I have that outlet. Like 3-4 days a week, I get to go out to the airport and just leave planet Earth, as philosophical as you want to get. But I get to leave planet Earth and I get to have the best view of my belief is the best view of the best college in the nation. But, you know, just get up in the sky, and that's my outlet to kind of get away and put everything that happened, you know, in class and everything behind me, but also learn because, you know, my dad's a pilot. So, you know, just being able to just be with other kids that are interested in the same thing. I never had that growing up through high school. Like I always knew I wanted to do aviation. I never really knew how I was going to go about doing that, or what I was going to end up doing, or how I was going to pursue that, you know, in high school, until I, you know, figured out, hey, there's college programs out there. There's not a lot, but there are some. And I think that's the coolest thing to me is I finally have a group that wants to do what I want to do and I mean, you know this, you hang out with me, I'll say stuff about flying and it's straight over your head. And you're just like, what are you talking
over my
about?
Head. Literally.
Yes. I mean, and you're just like, what are you talking about? To where you know, my roommate, he's a pilot, Keaton, you know, Keaton. And, you know, I can talk aviation and that kind of lingo with him, and he totally just gets me and understands everything. And, you know, I think that's the coolest part, is actually having those people. But I mean, then again, it's not about that. I mean, you're one of my best friends and you're not even a pilot and you still want to know about this stuff. I don't know why, but
yeah, I bring you on the first episode of my podcast just so you can talk about it.
Yes.
You mentioned a little bit about your classes. So
yes,
how does that, because I don't really know how that works, because I know you have like your own classes and then you also have like your flying time and that's separate. So how do you balance that, and what does that look like? Does one take priority over the other, or where does your heart lie, in the classroom or in the airplane?
The heart lies in the plane. I can definitely guarantee that, and you know that. You know, as stressful as it gets sometimes, especially preparing for a check ride or something like that, it gets really stressful, and I wish I was in the classroom. But, you know, the way that works is, you know, let's just take a chemistry major for a comparison. So the best way to compare it is the chemistry major has, you know, they're just classes that they take. You have your classes and then you have your labs. So our classes in aviation get us ready for the writtens. Every license that we have to take a written test for. And that's kind of the first step to getting that license, is passing that written test. It's the same thing. You got to get a 70%. Most of them are about 50 questions each. And there's, I think, one that's 100 questions. But, and that's going to be correlated to those classes. So like if I'm working on my private pilot license, your first license, we're going to have a ground class for that. And that's going to prepare you for that written. You're going to work through some textbooks, things like that, just like a chemistry major would. If they, that final that they have at the end of that course, that's what we're working for. And then, chemistry majors, they'll have their chem labs where they go out, once a week, and they'll have a 3-hour lab, a 4-hour lab, and they have that time set off. That's what flying is for us. We just have 3 of those in a week. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's any harder just because we have 3, but, it kind of gives us the outlet. It's the practice, it's the repetitiveness. Like, I don't go up and fly a different approach every day. I go up and fly the same approach twice a day, and then I'll do it again 2 days later.
What's an approach in airline?
So, in my lang terms, so right now I'm working on, or what I'm working on is my instrument rating. I have a check ride here in about 2 weeks. Very stressed for that, but we'll make it through. Hopefully when this comes out, I'll be done with that. I don't know. But so an approach is when you're in reduced visibility, or the best way to put it is when you're in reduced visibility and you're flying the plane solely based off the instruments inside. So you can't see outside the windows, and you're going from point A to point B based off of the equipment inside the plane. And the approach kind of, it's a step down. It starts working you down different altitudes and at different kind of waypoints or road crossings in the sky, and kind of works you down all these altitudes, lines you up for the runway. And then hopefully if it all works out right, if the clouds are overcast at 500 feet, at about 450 feet, poof, you pop out of the clouds and the runway is kind of right there. You just pull the power back and land. That's a perfect scenario, but definitely, it's one of the hardest ratings that you can get as a pilot. And I definitely understand why. I've loved aviation, but with aviation, it's a huge risk. Safety is the biggest thing. And I got a sense as to how pilots, put themselves in situations and end up killing themselves and other people because they don't go about it the right way. And, flying off of just your instruments is, it really confuses your mind a lot, and social, or your mind aspect of it. You get kind of turned around sometimes, and you just got to be in a good mindset to fly the plane. And, I think that's the coolest thing also about going through it, is it's not just hard. It's kind of really interesting how the mind works, how the body adjusts to, you resist. If you feel like you're going left, you might actually be in a really steep turn to the right and spiraling down to the ground. So, just kind of trusting the instruments inside the plane and just trusting.
You've never spiraled down to the ground.
No.
As evidenced by your presence here today.
No. Yes, my presence here today is a yes. No, I would never.
That's good. Okay, glad to hear that. Let's hope that it stays that way.
Hopefully.
So you mentioned, like, we got chemistry majors. They go to class, and then their lab, they're doing, chemistry stuff. I myself have taken chemistry classes. I was not good at them, but I did them. But, and for you, that's kind of the same thing. You got class, and then you go out, and instead of doing chemistry experience, you go out and you fly a plane, which is insane to me that you're doing that for college. But anyways, what kind of planes have you flown, and what kind of planes do you fly at the current
level that I'm at?
At the current level that you're at, and then how does that progress as you become a professional pilot? Do you get to fly different kinds of planes? Do you need different certifications for any of that stuff?
Oh yeah, I can definitely dive into that. So, where to even start? So, I mean, I started out in a Cessna, which is the manufacturer, Cessna 152. And, that's kind of like what we flew in, when I took you up flying that first time.
Yeah.
So the best way for everyone who wasn't there.
This is an audio experience. They're listening to this. So when you say Cessna 152, it's like,
you can look it up. You're going to be, it's a 2-person plane. You're sitting right next to each other. I mean, if you're a passenger, it's a cool experience because you're in the cockpit.
It's very loud.
It's a flying tin can with a lawnmower. Engine is the best way to describe it. I mean, it's a safer version of what I just described.
And there's no radio up there either.
You are but there's radios, but you're butt cheek to
No,
butt cheek with.
I was meaning like music, but go ahead.
Oh yeah. You aren't
There's a
gonna have
radio.
music. There's a radio. We talk to people, but no. So you're gonna be butt cheek to butt cheek with your instructor, or whoever's sitting to the right of you. It's gonna be kind of uncomfortable, kind of just sitting there, kind of like a roller coaster almost, but not as eventful as a roller coaster ride. Hopefully, if you ever go up with a pilot and it's as eventful as a roller coaster ride, contact me and I'll take you on an actual flight. No, so you're gonna start out on those 152s, just real small. Just really get your training, the basics down to flying. You're going to be flying the plane, not too complex of a cockpit or a plane in general. Then you go into instrument after your private. So you get your license. So it's kind of like a driver's license. You kind of get away from, you have an instructor in the car. You can go, once you get it, you can go out and fly on your own, take passengers, all that stuff. And now there's a bunch of legal stuff with, currency and staying current and making sure I have enough landings and time in the plane to take passengers up. But, that's the gist of it. And then you get into instrument training, which is what I just described to you. And that's a lot more complex. It's a lot more in depth as to the rules and regulations. But hopefully after this, we can go cloud surfing. We can go fly through clouds. You can touch a cloud. But I'll do those in a 172.
Do you get to in the 172? So eventually you get to fly the big planes.
Yes. So eventually, so I'll work up through the 172s. That's a little bit bigger. We'll get into our we just got brand new Cirrus SR20s, I believe, which is going to be really cool. Those are a little bit bigger. I know.
I always talk to my friends.
I'll have to show you next time we're out there.
That's a TX 172 right there. And it's just say say two letters and then three numbers and pretend you know what you're talking about and you know a plane type.
Hey, you'll fit in the group right there.
That's exactly how that works.
Everyone will ask you, hey, what type of plane is that? I've never heard of that before. Yeah. I mean, just keep on making it up, act like you know it. No, so then I'll get into our twin engines. Those are going to be our Seminoles. Those are pretty cool planes. Again, I mean, it's just a twin engine. That's what we're going to get our multi-engine license in, which is really cool. And then we'll also get our commercial in the multi-engine license, our commercial license, as well as we'll go back to the 172s to get our commercial single engine. So you have to have both multi and single. We kind of do it a little weird. We do twin engine first, just because you're going to come right off a multi-engine and start commercial. So why not just stay in the multi-engine and kind of do your multi-engine rating first, or your multi-engine commercial?
So when you say commercial,
yes,
you're talking about like basically like commercial flights. Right?
So really the biggest thing with so they're kind of working you up. All these licenses are going to give you kind of the resources to go and work for an airline. So like your private pilot, it's going to give you your license first of all. Instrument pilot, you're going to be able to fly in zero visibility. Airline pilots do it all the time. And then you're going to get your multi-engine. Your multi-engine is you can fly planes with two engines. And then you're going to get, after that, your commercial. Sorry, I kind of have a brain fart. But you'll get your commercial license. That's going to allow you to fly passengers for hire. That's the biggest point. And I'm leaving out a lot of little things.
That's when you make the money.
That's when you make the money.
People,
yes.
People pay you, and you're like,
well, you're certified to make the money. Now you got to go get the job.
Okay, but, yeah, that makes sense. But then,
yes,
after that,
yes,
you become an astronaut.
That's all it takes. Hopefully, once I get to the airlines, a couple of years, maybe. You already got the NASA flag behind you. Got two NASA things right behind you. I got that at Target for $5. That was a great deal.
Wow, nice.
The
first episode we're sponsored by Target.
We're sponsored by Target and 7-Up here, and the FAA.
We're not sponsored by Target, 7-Up, or the FAA. I don't know if I have to legally say that, but I'm going to say it now. But you got your NASA gear, so you have told me before. You did a competition at NASA or something that required you to stay awake for like 72 hours, right?
Yes, I was awake for actually 76 hours. It was after my senior year in high school. I heard. So kind of a long story short is in high school I was in an aerospace engineering class. And before I ever knew that flying was a possibility of, my career, going to college for flying, I wanted to build rockets. That was the biggest thing. My senior year, we built a rocket. It was designed to go past or break the sound barrier, go real high, go real fast. It
So in
sat
high
8 feet
school,
tall.
you were building rockets that can go past the sound
Yes.
barrier.
I
Is
don't know
that
why
am I hearing that correctly?
yes. And I don't know why the school district thought that was a smart idea to give the kids like this amount of money to build a rocket, because it's not cheap. Um, Definitely did some things in the classroom probably shouldn't with those motors, but it was a great learning experience. It opened up the world, especially to NASA. The greatest thing is that I learned is never be afraid to get outside your comfort zone. And we were like, let's just email, like you can go on NASA's website. And for Houston, there's a lot of engineers, a lot of big engineers. And
Right.
we were like, let's just email all of them one massive email and ask them to come out and look at our rocket and give them a presentation and just get feedback. Like, we want to be critiqued. We want this rocket to work when we go out and launch it, because we go launch it, which is the coolest experience in the whole world. It's the loudest one, but I mean, it's so cool. And they responded, and they were really eager to come out, see what we were doing in the classroom, see like all of our math, how we were making this work. And I mean, we're cutting aluminum. We're doing all the manufacturing ourselves, which is really, really cool. I mean, NASA, they go out and contract people. So they're cool. They were really interested to see that we were already applying that stuff in the classroom. All the math, I was getting it off of nasa.org. Like, that's where I got my math to build the rocket. And that's how we got it to work. We were doing all the electronics. We built our own computer to put on board. I mean, it was just a really cool experience. But again, kind of moving on, long story short, it opened up. I met this guy, Norman Chaffee. What a guy. He's a big mentor, big role model for me, whether he knows it or not. I have had little time meeting with him, but he's an elderly man. He's real sweet. He actually had a huge part in building the Saturn V. I mean, he was back there when they were launching.
What is the Saturn V?
The Saturn V was the rocket. Saturn V was the rocket that took all the Apollo missions up into space.
Oh,
yes.
So that's
so
an important
he was a head engineer in one of the motor systems.
That's it. As far as rockets go, that's
he was
like
in mission.
one of the.
So Apollo 13, so excuse the language, but when Apollo 13 shit hit the fan and they had all those issues, he was in mission control. They called him and said, "Hey, you need to get to mission control. We got problems." I mean, he was in the shit box with them figuring that out, which is really cool. Hearing those experiences from him. But he eventually reached out and he's like, "Hey, we have a worldwide competition out in Florida." And I already competed at the national one, and my team came in like second. It was a great time, but I got that call. It was the night of our band banquet, and our band banquet was like you wanted to go to the band banquet. We're the cool kids.
Yeah, of course.
At my high school.
Oh yeah.
But I remember like there's the dance, and I was with my girlfriend at the time at the dance and all that, and we're having a grand old time. And I got a phone call, and I was like, I gotta go. I was like, I'm gonna be on a plane tomorrow or the next day, and I was.
See ya, I'm going to space.
I wish.
Right out the dance.
I was very, very happy to hear from him. He was like, "Hey, I got a great opportunity for you. I know you didn't qualify to go, but we have an opening, and I really would love to give it to you. I've seen a lot of your good work." He was one of the guys that came out to our classroom, and I would like to say a good relationship with him. And he came out, and it was I actually flew with him out there, flew with my aerospace engineering teacher and a couple other kids from the Texas area. Actually, they all drove to or flew into Houston. We all kind of met up, and I believe there's 20 kids from the U.S. at this competition. We had kids represented from Mexico, Canada, anywhere across Europe. I mean, we had kids from India. We had kids from South Africa. I mean, it was a great experience. It was so what the competition was it was about a 5-day competition, and it was at Cape Canaveral. And our main task was to build a space station on the L4 orbital between the Earth and Moon. So you have the Earth, or the Moon is orbiting Earth. And then as it orbits, you're going to have a orbital that goes around the Earth and Moon, and they're all orbits together. And they wanted us to design a space station that can sustain life on that L4 orbital. And how we're going to get it.
When you did this?
18.
They were
So,
like,
I mean, we're talking complex stuff. I mean, they gave us a book of contractors that they actually use in real life. And they're like, hey, go have fun. And they're like, you just have to bring us this book back because that's classified information. And I was just like, whoa. I was like, what the heck? I was like, why are we giving high school kids this information? Right. So, but I mean, you know, we split off into teams. They rented out a hotel for us, and each team got a floor. So, I mean, we had rooms. There was an engineering room. There was a design room. There was a marketing room. There was a leadership room. Leadership and marketing for our team was on the same. Believe it or not, I wasn't on the leadership team. I was marketing. Believe it or not, marketing. The pilot was in marketing.
Hang on, I'm going to cut the podcast short.
Not
we
engineering.
Get somebody from the leadership team.
I know. I'm sorry.
We didn't come
not
here
qualified.
For a marketing.
No.
We didn't come here for nobody doing marketing.
So basically, I actually by default really worked close with leadership because I was in charge. I didn't have the big part, as it might seem. I was in charge of the printer and storing all the documents on my Google Drive on my computer, and like managing that, making sure I'm getting all the information from each group, and, you know, communicating with each group and making sure that all this is flowing. So really like a project manager, but on a lower level than leadership team, I guess. Just making sure everyone's getting information that they need. You know, leadership team, they got to talk with engineering. Engineers got to talk with design, and they got to figure out all this. I'm making sure all this is happening and making sure that, you know, we're getting all these drawings and blueprints and all this that we need. And eventually
making sure the
ink.
Printer has ink.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually,
that's the most crucial job.
Yes.
I'd imagine
it is.
Without printer ink,
I know.
Where would we be? We wouldn't have made it to the moon. I'll tell you that.
No, we wouldn't have. But one of the funniest stories I heard was around, I think it was the second day. So we stay up the whole time because they purposely give us too much to do to know that we're not going to finish. And they want to see who can get all this done, who can multi-manage people, and which company can come out on top. And they know that we aren't going to check every box. And you know, the funniest thing I heard was around day 2. And I mean, it was the night of day 2. So, I mean, we were all tired. It's kind of where you're hitting the lull. And it was probably hour, I don't know, 45, something like that. It's real late. And we get an actual engineer as our CEO, as we like to call it. And they get to kind of help us with the more sophisticated questions that we have about, you know, how does this really need to work in space? And our guy, his name was Jack Gafford, great guy. He is not your stereotypical engineer. He wears a Hawaiian shirt, sandals, and just like board shorts. And he's like, hey, call me if you need anything. I'm going home or I'm going fishing. And then, I mean, I called him at 2 a.m. I woke him up. It's like, hey, Jack, I have this question. You know, it won't take that long. I'm sorry I woke you up. And he's like, I'll be there in 12 minutes. I mean, I kid you not. He was there in 12 minutes. He got out of bed. He showed up. He was like, hey, what's your question? I was like, I just needed to know if this looked like what you wanted it to look like. It wasn't very specific. I was like, you cut me off before you just said you're coming. I was like, okay. But he caught me when I was in the closet. I had definitely hit my stress. We have what we call a stress level or stress personality. And you hit the certain amount of stress and then you eventually just burst. And I eventually started telling people, go away, don't bother me for another hour. I hate everyone in this room. And I hid in a closet. I turned all the lights off in the closet. And he said he opened up the closet, and this was at the award ceremony too, in front of everyone, my parents, my teacher, everyone, right?
Big moment.
He described me. I was on the computer, on the floor, on the computer. I was on my hands and knees with my butt sticked up in the air, working on the computer, frantically typing away. And I looked up at him, said, oh, hey, Jack, and then proceeded to keep on typing and printing stuff off. And he said it was the funniest thing. I ended up going on to win actually a really cool leadership award, which I was very honored to, be a part of that team and also, get that award. I think that really shifted my mind towards NASA and really showed myself like, I don't have to be this crazy aerospace engineer or anything like that to do that. I mean, look at Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. They weren't in the military. I believe they were test pilots, which is a big thing, but they weren't in any major branch of the military from what I believe, when they joined NASA. I believe Neil Armstrong had a little Air Force in him, or career experience. But I was like, I use that as motivation. I'm like, hey, if they can do it and they were the first ones on the moon, I can definitely do it. So that's the goal, is eventually get to the moon, or I want to go to Mars. I got 10 acres or 12 acres of land on the Mars.
Yeah,
I got my backup plan.
For those who are listening, this guy has acreage of land
on Mars. I do.
Bought.
And the moon.
It's his. And the moon.
It's mine.
So I'd imagine whenever we hit, in the future, when we get to when it's like Wall-E era,
yes,
where we got the big ship.
Hopefully we're not all fat on a spaceship, though.
Well, maybe if we can make it to where we live in Mars or on the moon, then you can make some money off of that. Or we can build a farm on Mars.
Potato farm? Is that what we're going to do?
Potato farm on Mars, and that's all we live off of.
Okay, I'll consult my friend Matt Damon about how that's all going to work. I need to figure out the specifics.
Dude, potatoes are the move. You can live off of potatoes. They make so much stuff.
I believe it. Mashed potatoes, you got French fries, you got potato chips, you got baked potato, loaded baked potato, twice baked potato.
That's all you need. I don't know what else you need from that.
But that's the goal. Airlines for a little bit. I got to get some jet time behind me, and then hopefully start applying to the astronaut program at NASA, and then take a huge pay cut, but go do something I really love and go to see where it goes. Go to the moon and hopefully further.
Go to the moon and write my initials on it with a stick.
I already told you I was going to do that with a moon stick.
Yeah, PM on the moon, right next to the American flag.
Yes.
Or we can just stick a flag with my face on it on the moon.
With your face? I don't know if I'd be able to do that. Okay, but I can tell you. You want to know a cool little fact about the flag on the moon? The flag on the moon is actually not red, white, and blue anymore. It's gray. It's all the color is faded out of it because of the radiation in space.
I feel like I've been lied to.
You've been violated your whole life.
It's okay. We are almost out of time. But hey, I loved having you on. This was super fun.
I know this was a lot of fun.
A lot of very interesting stuff. I liked your story about NASA because, it goes to show that engineer guy, he just shows up in Hawaiian shorts and sandals every day and shows up at 2 a.m. whenever a high school kid's calling him out of nowhere. So it goes to show great. you can do whatever you want, no matter who you are. It doesn't matter all that stuff. You can be as quirky or interesting as you think you are, and it don't matter. You can do it. And I think that's really cool.
It is.
So thank you, Taylor. Next week, we are going to have my good friend Raymond Venuya on the show. For those of you who used to listen to my podcast last year, we did a podcast about movies called Post Credit, and he's going to return. So that's going to be super fun. Taylor, would you like to say closing words? I'll give you about 10 seconds.
Closing words? 10 seconds. I don't know. Go Pokes. Have a great day. No matter what you do in life, just enjoy it to the fullest and, let it be your passion.
Those are good closing words. Good closing words for me. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back next week to talk about photography. And as always, hope you listen next week and subscribe and check us out on YouTube for sure. And check us out on Instagram and Twitter. On Twitter, it's Unofficial X Pod, and on Instagram, it's Unofficial Experts. And on YouTube, we are under the Deconstructed Podcast Network. We're a playlist on there titled Unofficial Experts. And as always, go Pokes, I guess. Go Pokes. Oklahoma State University.
University.
All right.
Hey.
We'll talk to you later. Thank you.